Hello, everyone. Alisha Merlo here with another countdown to GVAS Fall 2020. And this is a global conference, and I am going global right now with the fabulous Jason Pilgrim coming to us live from Australia, a world away. And thank goodness for technology, we can be here together.
Absolutely.
So happy to have you with us, Jason.
Look, wonderful to have me involved. I'm really grateful to be a part of it.
Well, we're going to kick things off before we get into GVAS, learning a little bit more about you. Now, you, my friend, as we were talking before, have found the secret to adding more time into the day. I think you said picking up boxes of time all around.
So yeah, just check behind the door and find the box here and a box there. And
I'm coming to your place to be able to find those boxes of time. But please share with us a little bit more about who you are, what you do, how long you've been in the aesthetic industry, why you love it so much.
Okay, that's a great question. I could be here all day, but look, I'll keep it really short. Look, my background, educational wise, is an allied health professional. So I've always been. I love anatomy, physiology. I love biomechanics. I love the way the body moves and looks and things like that. So it's always been my my background with my own sporting career and things like that. So I naturally fell into the industry. Been in it for a very long time now, and everything to do with health, medical, aesthetics. Across quite a few different countries has really become my forte. So I've still got my original company, and it's Australia's most awarded health team. So that's something we're really proud of, and keep trying to lead from the front, stay ahead of the curve. And then we've gone forward and put together corporate health companies. I do a huge amount of business development globally now across both health, medical, and aesthetics. And I really sort of keep myself in that niche. I've got a lot of good people around me, an amazing team, and we've been able to leverage out. I've got 6 companies at the moment, so we bring in some of our high turnover products for health and medical clinics and that into the country. We've got a corporate health company. We have our private health clinic, which I think is really important to have. So you're always in contact with the general public. You're always able to see what it's like to be at the coalface. It's one thing to design something big or do something innovative, but to know it's actually can be facilitated and to actually have that test ground proving itself repeatedly, I think is really important.
I love that, because then you're not working in a vacuum, right?
No, that's exactly right.
I always like to say working in a vacuum sucks. And it does, because you are really subjective to your own biases. And I love that you pointed out that the value that you have is not that you're on the business side of all this, a mover and a shaker and helping, private companies and corporate companies succeed, but then you also are walking through it day to day with your clinic. And that's impressive. And that's unique in this space.
Well, in many respects it is. It's, 4 years ago, we started our own cosmetic skin therapies brand, Cosmetic Skin Therapies Australia. So we've got, nearly 40 franchisees around Australia. And I think that becomes really critical as well, because now all of a sudden you have an integral way of seeing what it's like for our franchisees, for our nurses and our doctors, etc., on the ground in various states, in different, looking at different legalities, looking at different marketing campaigns. And when you're in a situation where you can constantly test and measure, you constantly tweak things in so many array of different fashions, it means that we become a lot better versed at what's working and what's not working. And as a net result, we can scale businesses faster, we can move ourselves quicker, and we can ultimately place our industry with all of our colleagues in a much better, proactive place, somewhere that has a lot more impact, a lot more growth potential. And that's what really excites me. So it's
so interesting, because you've got the 30,000 foot view, but then you have the ground level.
Yeah, it's like a helicopter. I always, for years, it's my original business coaches and things like that, a decade ago and things like that, would always say, like, I've really got to create a scenario where I'm in a helicopter and I drop onto the top of the building and I go and have meetings, talk with people, see what's happening. And then you lift up, you go to the next one and you're dropping in and out. So you've got that sort of, whole view of the whole city. You can drop in and out of big sky rises down to blocks of flats and all the different metrics in between. And that's how I guess I sort of stop and see myself with my role. And I think it works really nicely. So, yeah.
Your special forces.
Yeah, well, look, you know what? To be brutally honest, I've got an amazing team. We've got nearly 50 full-time offshore team members over in the Philippines that we work with a lot of our clients with. I've got a team of 6 full-time overseas that work just with myself. You know, I've got all my teams in my clinics and things like that. I've got a full-time EA as well. So I've got some really, really good people around me. I'm not going to take the credit and say I'm a wonderful and amazing and things like that. I know that I'm great at what I do, but I also know that I would be nothing without the people around me.
And
so
we just talked about that. We just talked about
yeah.
that before we hopped on, when I was so impressed with all the things you're able to do. And the first thing you did, which I have to just give a nod to you and applaud you for saying, is I have a great team. And that you even, you know, kind of referenced Richard Branson, who has, I think, 600, you know, companies in his portfolio.
Yeah, he's got
he could only do that if he surrounded himself with those who do what they do so well.
Well, I think that, you know, I mean, Jim Rohn used to teach us that success leaves clues. And so when you sit there and you go, when you look at the big boys and they've got so many different companies and entities and things like that, you sit there and go, well, how do they manage to do that? You know, I was working with guys, you know, more than 15 years ago, and they had, you know, 600 and 700 employees in different countries. And you sit there and you go, how did people do that? Because a lot of the time when you think about like the aesthetics industry specifically, you've got clinicians, you've got doctors and nurses, and you've got people that do an amazing job that got into the industry because they love it. They love what they can do, the impact they can have on people's lives, you know, but no one had that business background. We didn't go through the, you know, the business 101 course for building an aesthetics company. And so as a net result, we fall into all of these different traps. We walk down the dark alley and go, what am I doing? How do I do things? And we don't have the avenue to pull ourselves out. But when you look at some of the, you know, like Sir Richard Branson's a great example, and he's got, you know, nearly 300 Virgin companies alone and brands in that respect. You've just got to be able to bring on team members, hire team members that are better at doing those jobs and projects and tasks than what you are. And if you're a natural born leader, you've got to have that team. You've got to have people that can do those jobs better than you can. And ultimately that's how it is to be a really good CEO, a really good leader.
And you don't have to have thousands of people under you. If you're a small business owner, a clinician, you just need to have the right people on the bus. So let's talk a little bit, segueing into, I think, the sessions that you're going to be speaking on at GVAS. Yeah. So there's a couple of them. So why don't we start off with the first one? I think it's the business marketing matrix, guaranteed to grow your success. What is a little sneak peek? We don't want to give away everything, but we want to tease those that are listening in so that they'll know what they're in for and what they'll walk away from when they listen to you.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, I think that with all of my years in like I said, health, medical aesthetics, that's my forte. It's my bread and butter. And there really only is one blueprint that works across the board. And there's only 9 different accelerators that can actually make your business very saleable and scalable. You know, this isn't about creating pivots as well. We've heard like 2020 is like the year of the word pivot. You know, everyone wants to pivot this, pivot that, but it's not actually about pivoting. And I was chatting with a good friend of mine who still trains the Australian SAS. He's a 15, 16-year SAS veteran for the Australian Army Special Forces. And he laughs at it as well and says, it's not about pivoting, it's about being more agile. It's the ability for a business to be more agile and to be able to move and be light and to think on their feet. And in many respects, like you said before, this is about having smaller companies and a few employees, not, you know, your team members, not large companies. And, you know, just think, like, would you rather be agile and have a smaller water taxi in Sydney Harbour and go wherever you want? Or would you rather be a big cruise ship that takes 45 minutes and tugboats to try and turn around and pivot, right? So when we start to think about businesses, we need to be more agile, but we've actually put together the actual matrix, and there's 9 accelerators that we need to be able to concentrate on our business that will ultimately make it more agile and more stable. And from there, we can then pick up the pieces to actually move forward. So we're actually going to we're only going to have a short period of time, but we're going to get into it fairly quickly in regards to the 9 accelerators that every aesthetic business owner needs to be able to work on in their business. Because there's a lot of things that you hear about that shouldn't be done, doesn't need to be done, etc. And when we get the right things happening in the right way, only 9. That's all. Sounds like a lot, but
that's not a lot. Our day planners are usually, in our Outlook calendars, are usually booked with many, many more things.
Yeah,
and it's
to do this, and it's like,
yes,
so,
it sounds like
there's only 9 things, and that's what we're going to dive into, because ultimately there's normally 2 that you need to work on at any one time. Sometimes 3 that are the main focus, which is great, because now you're only working on 3 big projects in your business. You're not trying to do everything. You're just working on the 3 main projects, and the most amount of time, the way that it's actually designed with my Genius model, and it's an internationally awarded blueprint as well for how we've put this together as a model. It's really simple. It's really easy. And two of those on the opposite side of that Venn diagram structure that we have will always interlink. So we then built out models and systems and structures for each of those 9. So if someone needs something for those 2, we can go, great, here's what we're going to do. Here's what we're going to plug in. And every single time, like I say, we can guarantee it, because every single time, 100% foolproof, we get it right, which is something we're really proud of.
So those attending this session are going to walk away with the 9 accelerators on what they'll need to be more agile in their business, to see success, to navigate uncertain times, and to actually reach their goals, it sounds like. And I love the matrix, not the movie, obviously, that was always fascinating, but a matrix is really great because it's really simplifies a way to be able to execute. And I often have said in my career, you know, the best laid plans die on the sort of execution, but when you have something that's mapped out for you and it's proven and it's repeatable and scalable, I really think that there's going to be a lot of value that those are attending your session on this are going to walk away with.
Well, I think what you've just said is perfect. You know, like we have all been to, I mean, the health medical industry, and that we're amazing at having conferences, right? And we go to a conference for 2 days, 5 days, and you walk away and you're just motivated, you're inspired, you're pumped, you're energetic. And then you get back into your clinic on Monday morning and you go, what do I do now? Like, you know, you sort of lose that energy, and it's like you get all this great energy and all this motivation and inspiration, but you don't get the implementation. And exactly what you said, you know, you can have the world's best plans, the best strategy possible, but if you don't implement, and that's my number 1 rule with all of our clients, you know, with our tribe of all of our business owners that work together on a monthly basis and all our webinars we do, we literally have the first rule that we have. We only have 3, it's really simple, but we have quick to implement. Because for me, it's implementation is key. You've got to keep that forward momentum. And unfortunately, I see a lot of aesthetic business owners err on the side of caution too much. And it's not about being frivolous and silly in regards to what you do in the business decisions that you make. But if you're in a situation where you take the calculated approach and you take steps forward more regularly, more times than not, you are always going to get it right. So if you make one big business decision every quarter and one of them's wrong, or it's not as great as what you want, you're 2 or 3 months away from rectifying that. But if you're making a big business decision every fortnight, then the pain is actually, you know, 1/6 of the time, and your forward momentum and growth happens in a very short period of time, and you can rectify the change.
It's like if you worked out 4 times a year, you're not going to get stronger and healthier.
Absolutely.
But when you
everyone wants great abs, but no one's prepared to do sit-ups, right?
Yes, exactly. I love that.
Yeah.
So what about your other sessions? What are the other things that you're going to be
doing? So we're going to go dive into the dirty word of selling. You know, like we have this this mentality that selling a lot of the time in aesthetics is not shouldn't happen, and we need to make sure that everyone on the team understands we are in the business of health. And that it's not about discounting prices, because if you have a race to the bottom, ultimately it's the race you never want to win, because you'll be the first one to close your doors if you win that race. So what we need to be able to do is we know exactly what to be able to say and do to make this not about selling and not about dollars, but ultimately bringing this into a scenario where people are making the decisions based on what their emotions want and what that emotional event and those triggers actually are. So there's some very simple ways to do that. And I've done a lot of work over the years with some fantastic guys, including people like Ari Galpa. I've worked extensively with him. So there's a little bit of NLP involved into what some words will actually shut down people's responses. Other, you know, like even just turning around and having someone in an interview situation say, I know. Like if you go, oh, we need to do blah, blah, blah. And you were to say to me right now, Alisha, yes, I know. What we've actually done there is we've actually shut down our brain for 8 to 12 minutes. So science has proved this. We can't now actually cognitively learn for 8 to 12 minutes. So when you stop and think about simple 1 and 2 word phrases that we would catch our reception team and things like that doing all the time in regards to sales, you know, someone needs to move an appointment, and all of a sudden we get into a situation where we are now telling people that it's okay. I need to cancel my appointment and move. By turning around saying that's okay, we're now positively reinforcing a negative behavior that messes with our diary. So there's right ways, and I hate saying right and wrong, but there are right ways and wrong ways for the right things to be happening in your business and getting those sales based in the right way moving.
Attend that session. That's really interesting. So the first session obviously is for business owners, business leaders. The second one, who's the
I think selling is something that every single team member needs to be invested into. If you're the therapist, if you're the doctor, the nurse, the professional, the practitioner, you're in that situation where you're at the coalface, and ultimately you're in a selling type mentality at all times. You're always on show. So the ability to upsell and cross sell is very unique to the scenario you're placed with any type of client at the time.
So
but it's also really important.
So if you're in a patient-facing role, or this is a great session for a team to attend for a clinic or practice.
Absolutely. And then your reception team, your admin team, the people that are answering emails, that are on the phone, getting walk-ins, etc. You know, the amount of people that will try and sell something and hand over a pamphlet with that whole, you know, give us a call if we can help type mentality is like, no. So I think it's one of those topics that is literally across the board with every single person. It's a touch point that everyone needs to be aware of and understand.
Awesome. Now we've got about 2 minutes left. So what is it that you want to share about your last sessions, or what people will walk away from spending time with Jason Pilgrim at GVAS?
Well, I'd love to be doing it face to face too. That it's always nice to be able to have a nice beer or champagne or something like that with people. But look, my intentions for the 3 sessions that I'm running some panels with Stephen and things like that as well. But I really want to make sure that whether it's a business owner, whether it's a clinician, whether it's the front of house team members, that we can actually empower them to get some huge amount of benefit. I want them to be able to walk away and know exactly what to do to be able to implement hard and fast. There's no use, you know, giving pie in the sky models and saying, you know, kumbaya and rainbows and jelly beans. For me, this is all about implementation, right? It's one thing to know it, but it's another thing to do it. So I want to be able to make sure that, and I will be giving really simple and practical advice and tips, simple words and scriptings in place. You know, here are the 9 accelerators. Which are the 2 are you working on right now? So that we actually have forward momentum building movements with yourselves when we walk away from those sessions. You know exactly what you're doing, how you're doing it, and you can actually go ahead and implement, because ultimately implementation from these is the most important factor. So and understanding that things,
Jason,
it's really simple to do.
The why and the how. Well,
absolutely.
I think you've sold me. I hope I can make sure that I'm attending your sessions while I'm at GVAS as well. I think those watching this video are going to be inspired by your experience, your approach, your style. You're definitely somebody who captures attention. It is fun to listen to. And I just thank you for spending some time giving us a sneak peek to meet you and learn a little bit more about what we'll be taking away at GVAS Fall Summit 2020. And with that, everybody,
happy to help where we can.
We're going to see you at the summit. Thank you so much, Jason.
Thanks, Alisha. Appreciate it.
Bye-bye.